You're listening to Into the Smoke, hosted by Patrick Harmon. And thank you guys very much for listening to another episode of Into the Smoke. I'm your host, Patrick Harmon, every week. Not every week, but when I want to do Into the Smoke. Just joking, guys. I really want to do this every week. Kind of like all the other podcasts hosted by various people in or around the NASCAR community. Unlike some, I'm actually more dedicated to actual workings of NASCAR. Well, we had a great last two races, and we're going to be talking about that in particular, the last two races and how great they were to the sport. I know some people were not that, let's say, crazy about them, but if you really look at them, they were the best two races out of the whole year so far for the sport. And if you look at the schedule in general, not directly, but in general, this is basically the halfway point because how the media is all set it up. This is the halfway point when NBC takes it over. Technically, Chicagoland was when NBC took it over this year, but this is where they've considered it the halfway point. So let's get into it, guys. The last two races, Chicagoland, it wasn't the best. It was fixing to be a runaway by Kyle Busch. It was fixing to be Kyle Busch runaway. Like most races, it was either going to be a Kyle Busch runaway, a Kevin Harvick runaway, or a possible Truex Jr. runaway. The last two laps, the last lap or two, that's where the whole thing blew out of proportion. Got blown out of proportion. Kyle Busch started getting into lap traffic. Kyle Larson got on him. Kyle Larson nipped his back end. He pushed him out of the way. Kyle Busch then hit him, but then pushed himself, whacked himself. I shouldn't say pushed himself. He whacked himself against the wall on his right side. Whacked himself his right side against the wall, and hit and managed somehow to get across the start finish line, still ahead of Larson. Why everybody was booing, I don't know. Maybe because Kyle Larson should have won, but it was Kyle Larson's fault because he didn't win. But the only reason why Kyle Larson even had a chance was because Kyle Busch was in lap traffic. If he didn't hit lap traffic, there would have been no reason why Kyle Busch could have just zoomed by everything. So it was basically the Kyle and Kyle show. It was literally the best racing all year. But we'll talk about why there's better racing ahead. The only reason was because, well, he hit lap traffic. If he didn't hit lap traffic, it would have been, he would have been just zooming by, been zoom. He would have probably lapped half the field, and I think he did. He was lapping a few. There was only, I think, at Chicagoland, I think there was only about 20 cars on the lead lap. I think I'm about right. think I'm about right, guys. We'll be out quick for y'all. But anyway, we're gonna get into Daytona for a second. I think there's only about 28 cars on the lead lap. Is what I believe. Yeah, is what I believe. There's only about 20 cars on the lead lap. So, Daytona, the next week, last weekend. That was, I guess, what the kids call interesting, to say the least. To say the least. I would call, um, I would call it. I don't like cussing on my YouTube channels, but I cuss sometimes. So it was a shit show. That would let's call it. It was on the next level. It was on the next level, and why don't we just address the elephant in the room? Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He was the driver. It's well documented that he was the driver that caused 99.9% of the wrecks. He was just wrecking them. He actually, at one point, he wrecked, I think, as far as this was just one of the wrecks. He wrecked 3 drivers, including himself. He pushed Kyle Busch into Byron. Yeah, Byron drives at 24 now. He pushed Byron. Yeah, he pushed Kyle Busch into Byron. Byron. Oh my gosh, it was just a shit show. Like, it kind of pissed me off at one point. And this was like all these wrecks started back in the middle, the middle of stage 2. Usually the big one doesn't even start until 30, maybe 40 laps before the maybe 50. But this was stage 2. After stage 2, you have like 110, I think. 110 laps, maybe a little bit less, maybe 100 laps. I'm guessing a little over 110 laps in the last stage. He had plenty of time to wreck cars. He had plenty of time. He actually had security walking through the garage. And the funniest part about it, I was doing research, like I was going through NASCAR.com and getting some research for this. He thought he had a good car. He was talking about, oh, we brought a good car to this, and blah, 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 this, and blah, blah, that. You didn't have a good car. You were wrecking cars. In reality, you were wrecking cars. Because you had a bad car. So you were wrecking all the good cars to make up for your bad car. He ended up finishing 17th. And I was pretty much dead last in the field. Because there was only 18 cars on the whole track. Because once you have a bad car, especially Daytona, especially a track that's gonna you need the draft and you need good things. You can't really just shoved there, like a smaller track. If like I know a lot of people love to run a modified, in quotation marks, a modified um car in you call it what do you at what's Bristol? Isn't Bristol down? I think it's Bristol that they sometimes, if they get wrecks, they'll cut all the front end. I don't think NASCAR likes them running them that way anymore, but they used to do it that way sometimes. But and then I also found out that he is behind in points. He's like 17th out of the possible 16. So he's no, he's 18th. We'll look that up too, but he actually realized that he needs to shape up. Shape up or get out. You know? He realized that he needs to shape up or stop chasing the points he doesn't deserve. If you guys didn't realize, Menard and Newman, they stopped doing that. They realized that they can't chase the points that they don't deserve. So they kind of stopped wrecking people. You know, they used to wreck people all the time. Menard and like Newman, they do still sometimes. They still definitely Newman. Newman definitely wrecks people. Still. But Menard definitely stopped doing that because he just wrecks himself sometimes. He still wrecks himself, but Menard and Newman definitely used to wreck people all the time. If they get passed by one car, like, oh, I'm down in points, gotta wreck people, like they used to do all the time. I'm not even joking, guys, because they realized the same thing as Stenhouse Jr. over here. He's like, oh, I'm down in points, gotta wreck people. I can't get down in points. They didn't realize that they gotta just do it. You gotta just realize that you can't. But you can't go after points you don't deserve. But the good side of all this is it was the best racing we had all year. Even though that it was just wrecking all race. From stage 2 all the way to the end of the race. And the funny thing about it was I was getting so pissed off. I was like, don't you dare. It was about I can't, you can't judge off a TV screen. If I had a big TV screen like I really want to have, like, especially watching these races, I want to get a big TV screen. But that's what I really want, is get one of these big TV screens. But yeah, like especially watching these NASCAR races, it'd be way much better to watch on a bigger, like a projector screen or something like that. But it's a different and but I'm guessing it was about if I've actually been to the Daytona race track, but I've actually never actually watched a race there. Oh man, I'm trying to think still. It literally had to be like not even a whole, about a half a dozen to a dozen car lengths. And then somebody wrecked somebody. I do not know what happened there. And they didn't call it until maybe about that half a dozen to about 3 car lengths, and they, whew, caution. They just, I'm like, yellow flag. I was like, are you that stupid? Like, are you that stupid? You're gonna piss me off like that. Ooh, I was like, you freaking kidding me? But they did caution it, and they were like, oh. So I was like, cause uh, I just don't like this new overtime rules. So Johnson actually had a shot. Johnson actually had a shot. Actually, a lot of people had a shot, but the key word here was had a shot. Even though it, yeah, even though there was wrecking in stage 2, even though we haven't had wrecking in stage 2, this was the most action we had all year, yeah. So, I think the best way to describe it was a modified version of the boys have at it phrase. And I'm trying to think of a better, I was typing this up yesterday, I was trying to think of a better, like, thing than phrase. Like, what is that? Is that a saying? What is that? But, why am I getting kind of irritated by this? Well, it's kind of the boys have at it thing. It's no longer a thing in NASCAR. I think Kevin Harvick kind of referenced this a little bit in the early parts of the season this year. He was saying how if the that fans and drivers should be more. I guess he kind of was saying should be more energetic about racing. If you don't like a driver, show it. If you do like the driver, show it. Drivers just aren't getting angry anymore on track, meaning long term. Like, I know when Gordon was retiring, so that was not last year, but 2 years ago. No, 3 years ago now. Yeah, this is 3 years ago now. He was getting in fights. He was like, "This is why I'm leaving NASCAR because people are just stupid." And I was like, and it was just like, there's nobody actually getting like passionate, like just really mad about racing. Like, they're just like, getting in my car now. I'm gonna go drive my car now. Oh, this guy wrecked me now. Oh, bye. Oh, you wrecked me. But I love you. I'll see you next race. No, if you wreck somebody, you gotta prove it. You gotta prove that I wrecked you for this reason. We'll go see you next week. I'll see you next week. That's what racing used to be about. You wrecked me. I'll see you next week. I might wreck you too. And then people actually like Kyle Busch now. Dale Jr. even like has it in his little like NBC thing now. It's like, oh, I used to wonder why people uh I used to be one of those people that really didn't like Kyle Busch, and then now I realize that Batman needed a Robin. Blah blah. And I was like, that's that's BS over here. Kyle Busch is a bad person in the sport, and people need to show it. People need to show it that there is no Kyle Busch. We don't need a Kyle Busch. I always thought that Eric Jones was kind of like Kyle Busch because basically Kyle Busch found he found Erik Jones. It's kind of crazy that then after I saw him win, I was like, well, he is a first-time winner, and now he's going to be on the whatever they're going to call it. They're always wanting to be like other sports, so I'll probably call it like Sweet 16 or something like that. So he's going to be on that Sweet 16 list. I always call it I always think of it as like some stupid list because it's all the drivers that have won basically throughout the year, and a lot of them are either first-time winners or people like Newman that aren't going to actually follow through the whole rest of the year because they just won one race and then they fell off the rest of the year. And there's not going to be a lot of drivers that are actually going to follow through until the four drivers, because it's kind of like a make or break after that first set of drivers. But a few little things real quick. I'm not going to talk about these too much. There's going to be a couple topics I'm going to hit on real quick. There's going to be a couple topics we'll talk about next time. And I'm actually going to put them right here. Toyota Supra. The discussions we're going to be talking about later are okay. So Ryan Newman's going to be driving the number 3, driven by pull that up real quick. Ryan Newman will be driving the number 3 Jordan Anderson Racing truck at Eldora next weekend, I believe. Next week, I should say. It is the Eldora Speedway will be on July 18th, which is, yes, it's July 18th is next Wednesday, so a week from yesterday. And he will be driving the number 3 for Jordan Anderson. Jordan Anderson Racing. Yep. And then the 2 subjects I might be talking about later in another podcast, or in their own separate podcasts. I do not know about one of these subjects yet. Toyota is going to be introducing a brand new car in 2019, the Toyota Supra. Toyota is going to be introducing a brand new car, Toyota Supra, in the Xfinity series, not in the Cup series. They're going to keep the Camry. I believe it's the Camry, and the Cup series, but the Xfinity series, Toyota Supra is going to be taking over in the Xfinity series. And I believe in its own podcast / Facecast. I don't know what that's going to be called. I'm going to have a podcast with my face in it. We might be talking about a potential NASCAR buyout overall talk. With this podcast, I will be talking about what will happen if NASCAR does get bought out in the next 5 years or so. What will be bought, what will be possibly just thrown out, how will NASCAR be broadcasted in the future, and what car will be raced. Like, are we possibly even going to have hybrids? Are we going to have, like no fuel? Are they just going to be, like, charged? Like, they're going to be pulled in the NASCAR garage and be like, like electricity brought into the race cars or whatever. But I will be possibly doing a full podcast just talking about NASCAR buyout. So, be looking for that in the near future. And Toyota Supra will be talked about in a near future as well. So, moving on to the last subject at hand, NASCAR Heat 3. Not very much information was brought out to the general public. I know 704 Games has their go-to people that supposedly, I don't know, like, all these games people like have these, I don't know where they get their people from. Obviously they have some pretty good people. I know last time they had Jeff Fabiano, Barry Bugs, and a couple other people. I think Barry Bugs. I know Jeff. I know Jeff was in there, and a couple other people I used to watch on YouTube had the last NASCAR Heat 2. Got to play NASCAR Heat 2, and they even got to freaking see a freaking NASCAR driver. I believe that's what really pissed me off. I was like, I've never been able to see a NASCAR driver. I tried when I went to Eldora before. I tried to get a chance to see Tony Stewart. I never got to see Tony. I've tried to see other drivers before, and I've never been able to see them. And they literally got to sit down and play the game with them. That kind of pissed me off. They actually got to see Brad Keselowski, and they actually got to play the game with them. So, like, you can play the game anywhere in the world. Like, the game, they literally played the game on release date. But the only thing they did was play the game in front of the drivers. So, there was a few things, like, things updated and all that stuff. There is going to be a dirt series, kind of dirt to Daytona, meaning you have to go through dirt series, and then eventually it's dirt to Daytona, meaning dirt racing to getting a Cup car or an Xfinity car to Daytona. There is an update to the Career Series, meaning there's possibly some good updates. And there's an update to the Crash model. They're showing how cars actually get folded in instead of just hoods crinkled up. Like, that never happens. And a bunch of other things. A bunch of other major updates. I'm expecting further updates. Updates. I'm expecting further updates on the game. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening to another Into the Smoke podcast. This has been Season 2, Episode 6 of Into the Smoke. I'm your host, Patrick Carmen. And until next time, guys, I might see you on the track.